The show Stranger Things is one of the biggest things on Netflix, by a wide margin. Granted, certain movies and series get big views when they debut, but when it comes to the hype train, Stranger Things is the top dog in many aspects, and for good reason.
Didn't think so.
A lot of work goes into making every season, and when Season 4 finally arrives, it'll be evident then as well.
I gotta warn you again, and you're banned for life.
But how much do you know about what went into making the show? The behind-the-scenes info that only diehards and those who seek out secrets know. Allow us to show you 11 behind-the-scenes tidbits of Stranger Things. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 11. Anthology versus continued storyline. Stranger Things follows a TV-style format we all know and watch all the time, with it having a main cast that has a certain problem that they need to solve by season's end. It's tried, it's true, it works. But originally, the showrunners, the Duffer Brothers, weren't planning on doing that. Instead, it was originally going to be an anthology series. Each new season would be in a different decade. Season 1 would be in the 80s, and then they'd jump a decade for each new season until they ended in the 2020s. This would have led to different stories, different monsters, and of course, new characters in each decade. Could it have worked? Absolutely. But when they realized the cast they had, they knew that the better option was to go and do things seasonally, and we can't deny the results. Number 10. Stunts and effects. While fans are used to seeing the giant mind flayer or the screeching Demogorgon during the various scenes of action and horror, the cast sees something very different when they're not on set, but they're not acting against nothing. For the monsters, we use stunt performers in green suits to interact with cast, said stunt coordinator Hiro Koda. In the scene where Eleven, Millie Bobby Brown, is fighting the mind flayer in the hospital in Season 3, there were actually tentacle props attached to a wire rig for her and the other performers to interact with. Which also brings us to the question of CGI versus practical effects. According to Koda, one is preferred when possible. The Duffer Brothers and Shawn Levy are incredible with creating the vibe on set with music. Everyone really gets into the scene, including the crew, until we all believe that the man in the green suit is a giant scary monster, said Koda. Number 9. Doing it before Stranger Things. Almost. You can tell from the typeface of the Stranger Things logo, in addition to certain plot points, that creators Matt and Ross Duffer take much inspiration from Stephen King. In fact, while the hit remake of It was still in development, the Duffer Brothers were gunning to bring their vision to the horrifyingly clownish story, but were turned down. Instead, they decided to push forward on the long-tinkered idea of their own King-esque story, which became their sensational Netflix series, which coincidentally stars It actor Finn Wolfhard. Number 8. New York over Hawkins. Stranger Things fans know that the show is based in Hawkins, Indiana, but it wasn't going to be like that at first. The show was inspired by the Montauk Project conspiracy theory that alleges the US government had some secret projects involving repressed memories, time travel, and various things like that. Much of which was allegedly done to kids, hence the Hawkins gang being the main characters. The description of the show at first read, described as a love letter to the 80s classics that captivated a generation, the series is set in 1980 Montauk, Long Island, where a young boy vanishes into thin air. Matt Duffer explained that they wanted the show set in Montauk after one of their favorite movies, Jaws. Budget constraints resulted in the show being filmed in Atlanta, Georgia, moonlighting as the fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana. Most fans would agree we've had enough shows in New York, so we've given Indiana its due. Number 7. Pranking Noah Schnapp's mom. Yep, this happened. One Stranger Things cast member who's not particularly fond of his character's haircut is Noah Schnapp, whose disappearance in Season 1 is just the first of the many disturbing occurrences that the series title refers to. Among them was a fake corpse bearing a striking resemblance to Schnapp as young Will Byers, which proved to be a great shock for viewers and the young actor's mother as well. In an article written by the Duffer Brothers for Entertainment Weekly, they recall the moment they crossed the line by startling her with their own copy of the body before she changed her tune, giddily taking selfies with the frightening realistic prop. So yeah, these guys are pranksters. You've been warned if you visit the set. Number 6. Mike's birthmark. There were a lot of changes between the OG concept of Stranger Things and the final product, as we've noted so far, and some of them go a bit more physical than you might expect. One of the initial ideas was that Mike Wheeler, Finn Wolfhard, was supposed to have a birthmark on his cheek. After playing around with the concept, the Duffer Brothers nixed the idea. Finn confirmed the fact himself, saying in the Stranger Things Worlds Turned Upside Down book, "My original character had a big birthmark on his face. That was a story point. but they ended up removing it because they thought that us being natural was better. Number 5. Smoking allowed? Despite widespread positive reception, Stranger Things 3 was not without its critics, but not so much from anything related to the story. The series was dubbed one of the most egregious examples of on-screen tobacco use, based on the results of a survey issued by the Truth Initiative in July 2019, referencing frequent depictions of Joyce Byers, Winona Ryder, and Hawkins Police Chief Jim Hopper, David Harbour, smoking cigarettes in particular. In response, Netflix released a statement that, as reported by The Hollywood Reporter, all new projects that they commission with ratings of TV-14 or below for series or PG-13 or below for films will be smoking or vaping free, except for reasons of historical or factual accuracy. Make of that what you will. Number 4. 11 is E.T.? The growth of Eleven in the series is obviously a backbone of Stranger Things. But as Millie Bobby Brown revealed in an interview, it's deeper than you realize. The Duffer Brothers told me that the performance that they wanted me to resemble was E.T., and that relationship between E.T. and the kids, Brown said. I thought that was very interesting, and Matt and Ross were like, basically, you're gonna be an alien. That may sound weird, but if you recall season 1 where she wore the pink dress and the blonde wig, that was another reference to E.T., and the film's intent was to connect E.T. with the kids, and that's what Eleven had to do too. The big difference here is that E.T. had to go home, but Eleven found her home in Hawkins. Or at least, she did until season 3 when she left it because of the Byers. Let's just move on. Number 3. The van flip scene. Let's talk about when Eleven flips the van in episode 7. It was cool, but it caused real-world stress. The Duffers decided that they wanted to do the scene without the use of CGI, but many sources told them that there was absolutely no way they could flip a van that large, that high in the air. However, Matt and Ross Duffer wouldn't take no for an answer. They triggered explosives under the van to send it high into the air, and the test was so successful that it was approved for shooting. However, it didn't go so well during filming. One of the explosives didn't explode, and the van flew right into a camera, destroying it and its lenses. It ended up costing the production thousands of dollars. The second take went perfectly and is the scene that viewers see in the show today. Number 2. How to delay filming. Kid style. This is a classic example of what happens when you have a bunch of kids together on set. Anything can happen, especially smelly stuff. During the bus scene in episode 7, one of the boys decided to fart multiple times. This delayed filming, and eventually the farts became so toxic that the crew had to evacuate the bus. According to the Duffers, these shenanigans frustrated Millie Bobby Brown, and they had to give the boys a pep talk the next day. Number 1. Hopper's cabin, the escape room? One of the most frightening moments of Stranger Things' 3rd season involves a monstrous attack on the cabin owned by Hopper. That same summer, any fans who felt that they could take on the Mind Flayer better than our young heroes were free to try it, and at the very same location too. The authentic backwoods cabin, which only cost $1 of the series' budget to use, can be found at the site of an Atlanta escape room company called Escape Woods, who actually turned it into one of its own attractions in 2019, challenging patrons with tasks much like what goes on in the Upside Down. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at Stranger Things and the various tidbits that went into the making of the show throughout its various seasons that you might not have known about? Does this help you appreciate the show more? Does it help you understand why certain seasons took so long to come out? What tidbits from Season 4 do you expect to come out? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.